Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Last week, circuits put the drivers in a position where passes were hard to come by. This week, it might just be a bonanza. Hockenhiem and Road America offer plenty of opportunities to overtake. So how will that change the drivers' strategies? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 4 of the PRL GT Amateur Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The Ferrari Challenge is up first tonight here in Germany. Let's head to our track guide to find out what Hockenhiem is all about. Welcome to Hockenhiem. Located just an hour away from the border of France, this is a German track whose nature has changed drastically over its history. Once an eye-watering blast through long straights in the forest, it has since been truncated to its current format. With 6 different layouts ranging between 2.5 and 4.5 kilometers, containing 13 to 16 turns, depending on which you choose, it's got something for just about every level of racing. This means it would fit everything from club cars up to Formula One. And that's perhaps what it's most well known for. One of the regular hosts for the German Grand Prix, it has been the scene of multiple dramatic moments, some triumphant, some tragic. Its redesign in the early 2000s gave it a few well-placed overtaking spots. The Parabolica entrance can create a good sneak attack, but even if you don't get it done there, the huge run towards the tight and slow Spitz curve is the place most well known for overtakes. If neither of those work, on rare occasions, Mercedes Corner can see drivers manage to pass one another. While the straights certainly aren't as long as the old version, it still requires a good deal of top speed to be competitive. But driver beware. Throttle control can often make or break your lap on the latter half of the circuit. All in all, German race fans can be assured to find great action no matter your tastes in racing at this fantastic venue. Well, DJ, they've taken the Ferrari GT3s here onto Hockenhiem, which is more well known for its F1 races. So what can we expect here today?
Well, Joe, what we can expect is some good side-by-side action. It's what Hockenhiem always seems to produce. The first corner here, little bit tighter than Cops at Silverstone, but still a pretty fast sweeper. And from there, it's all about setting up into the start of the Parabolica, that right-left sequence, and then the long run down the Parabolica. That's where the draft is really going to come into play for these Ferraris. It's all then about getting onto the brakes later in the Spitzkehre and seeing if you can carry some more momentum. But from there on out, the next two sort of stadium sections allow for some surprisingly good action. We see constantly in that first area, the Mercedes-Benz Arena, that always seems to be a hotbed in whether it's GT or Formula style cars. And then the next arena section going down through the Mobil 1 curve and the Sachs curve, well, that's all about driver skill. Both of those corners are very, very tricky, specifically the Mobil 1 curve. In these wider Ferraris, they've got to be very, very careful as the margins for error are very, very slim there. And from there on out, it's just about getting everything backed up and on its way. This is really a driver's track, but it's also a fan's track because we always see some good action here.
That's produced some amazing races so far in the what little time we've had it here on GSRC. Before we get to that amazing racing, we want to remind you that our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
Tonight's broadcast is also brought to you by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Tonight's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT AM series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. So as we take a look at the points now on the Ferrari series, and up at the top, Jonathan Wager is ahead by 27 points because of his 3 wins here at the start of the season. Nobody's managed to beat him yet. Well, Phil's been trying, but even he has quite a distance back to Carmody back there, where finally things get tight together between Sean, Eric, and File there for third place. So we'll see if any of them switch around, but it's going to take something drastic to see Wager fall out of the lead after today. What about the team's championship, though, DJ?
Well, Eagle Vision Racing holding a pretty commanding lead, much like Jonathan Major there over Apex Button Box to the tune of about 31 points. Improper Racing about 20 points back from them. Parabola Racing Cobalt about 33 points back from Improper. The only really kind of close battle we have going on there is Parabola Racing Cobalt getting chased down by Apex Eagle Button Box Vision Racing, and that's about 9 points away. So definitely looking for some changes here, and those drivers at the top, they just want to keep on doing what they're doing and keep growing those gaps.
Now, if you haven't watched the Ferrari Challenge series yet, well, here are our race details, and it is a 35-minute event, so it's a short sprint race, but there will be at least one pit stop out there as they do not have enough fuel to complete the race. It is a fixed setup series, so that'll make it nice and easy since this is all basically newcomers coming in and competing in here. And they've got some penalties to watch out for. There's plenty of paved runoffs, so they have to be wary of how often they leave what is officially the track surface. They're also working on the bonus for the pole position right now, as qualifying has already started. But don't forget, after this race, that we've got more to come, because we have the GT3 AM Series over in Road America, which should be exciting if the Pro Series was anything to go by last night. I think our first driver able to set a time is going to be Jonathan Wager, who is just coming into the final stadium section right now. We're watching one of his rivals a little farther back here. This is Stetzel, who we've got on screen, coming into Sachs Curve currently. Does take a bit to get these GT3 cars around this track, since it is a Grand Prix course, so it is made for much quicker cars than these. Here's Stetzel coming around the south curve, just taking a little bit of curve. Let's see what he's got underneath him.
Well, to the surprise of nobody there, Jonathan Wager immediately jumping up to the pole position. Eric Luke behind him. Bo Phil slotting into third. Stetzel looks like he's pretty solid there with fourth. Top four separated only by about 0.8 of a second as more times continue to clock in here.
Watching on board with Wager, still nobody able to overtake him here in the qualifying. They are allowed 4 laps, but because these take about 1:37, it's going to be very tight for them to get all 4 of them in. Most should, but if they have any mess-ups, they could run out of time. Wager around the Spitz curve. Took a lot of inside curb, which surprises me. I would think that would unsettle the car.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why Wager would want to do that, and you're not really going to be gaining that much of an advantage there. It's such a low-speed corner that cut's not going to give you too much time. Now, taking a big clip there, that makes sense to me, even though the car did look a little bit unsettled, but I have grown accustomed to not questioning Jonathan Wager here at this point. 3 wins on the season. He knows what he's doing.
Certainly seems to, well, except for there, as he pushed it a little too hard. So that lap will not count for Wager as he drifted into the dirt coming through Mobile 1. So Eric Luke is the next most likely to try and overtake him based on what we saw from that first lap. He's about 0.3 down, and he's actually coming around now as well. Here we see the Apex button box driver off of the final turn. Let's see if this one's going to be any quicker for him, and he also had his lap deleted.
All right, so that's another problem of running on a Grand Prix circuit like this, is that there is plenty of area for paved runoff to tempt the drivers offline. John Stetzel improves his time up to 4th. Setne Kara jumps his way to 7th, as well as Mark Feil in 8th place right now, waiting for some more drivers to cross over. Daniel Knight with the stonker of a lap coming up to P3.
And Blake Ziti into 4th as well. So these drivers are finding some time for sure. We're waiting on Charles Sumner, Pim Luth, Eric Evans, and Carmody to put one down. Looks like Summer just crossed the line, and that'll put him into 12th place. We watch Daniel Knight currently coming down the Parabolica towards the Spitzker. This has got to be one of the toughest corners on this track, even though it looks simple. The braking, you've got to hit it just right.
Indeed, Joe. You've got to get it absolutely perfect, and you almost want to overshoot the corner a little bit to be able to bring it back on, get onto the throttle a little bit before the apex to carry as much speed as you can around the outside, because as we said during the race conditions, this run down here into the Mercedes-Benz Arena section is a prime area for overtaking.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. These oval drivers have awakened something in me in the way that they paint GT cars. I say we need to bring back the giant numbers on the sides of sports cars, because that just looks cool. That doesn't look very cool going off of Mobile 1. Once again, that seems to be the trouble zone here today so far.
Yeah, it really does. Is Eric Luke there able to improve, it looks like, by a couple hundredths of a second, but not close enough to close the gap to Jonathan Wager. And yeah, going through that Mobile 1 curve, Joe, what's particularly difficult about it is not only is it a high-speed corner with just a little bit of brush braking in these GT3s, it's relatively unsighted. There's that big wall to the right that just kind of dips away, and it's very hard to find your braking and turn-in point there, so it's really all about trusting the car.
Looks like Paul Wildridge didn't improve that time by, as he had an off track. I see Belleville coming up next along with Hellberg here. coming through. He sits in 6, but he's not going to go any higher than the 3rd row that time. He gets one more lap to try and go quicker. So we now look over to Blake Ziti out of the south curve. The number 50 has only 16 thousandths to make up as he comes to the line, and he is too slow. So one last shot for the 50 as well. Oh, maybe not, because that looked way off the track there. I don't think that one's going to count.
No, I don't think it is either. Looking at Leif Hellberg now as he makes his way through the Parabolica. Let's see how he's able to take the Spitzkehrer right here. Goes down onto the binders. Not a lot of wiggle from the Ferrari. This is a car that's pretty well stable under braking. It's not necessarily like the Porsche or the Corvette GTE that tends to get a little disrupted when you get onto the binders quickly. So he's able to get that there. Nice and wide going through Mercedes.
Eric Luke just finished his qualifying and he was not able to top Wager, so he'll have to settle for 2nd at best. Wager went up to a 37.8, and that will put him just a few more hundredths ahead of Eric Luke. Daniel Knight, as we watch Hellberg continue on taking quite a bit of curve himself. Daniel Knight, unfortunately, not going to have his last one count. Good thing he got at least one lap in because he wound up in 3rd because of that.
Yes, he did. And here comes Leif Hellberg, one of the more consistent drivers that we always like to talk about. Leif coming, he's going to come on into the pit, so he's going to call that off. Jonathan Wager slowing down. Here comes Rafael Bofill on that last run through the Spitzkehrer. I believe this Bofill is done. This is just out him practicing, I think.
I'm not seeing too many drivers able to improve on this last lap as I watch them come around past the commentary box on the front stretch. Lawson Christie is close to finishing and does improve up to 24th. That's about a 3-spot gain for him. And that might be it. Yes, indeed. I'm looking out on the circuit and there's nobody else able to set another time. We've got a number of drivers to go through, so might as well start through our starting grid here today for round 4 of the PRL Ferrari Challenge Series. It's going to be Jonathan Wager who put it on the top and by more than a quarter of a second over Eric Luke, who joins him on the front row. Daniel Knight, with his lone lap that counted, really made it count, put himself into 3rd. Blake Ziti was good enough for P4 as Stetzel starts in 5th. Hellberg has P6 today. Bofill in 7th, with Kara in P8, coming off of a penalty, unfortunately, from last round. Semkovic was 9th and Mclaughlin 10th.
In 11th, it's Neil Alexander, followed by Paul Wildridge, and Mark Feil and Pim Luth making up row 7 behind them. Joseph Gerson will line up in 15th, followed by Baron Glover with Mario Ficadenti and Charles Sumner in row 9 behind them. Then to round out your top 20, it's Alex Bergstrom and Randy Gross.
Barry Cochran will start from 21st with Peter Lee in 22nd. Inside of the next row, it's Joe McCauley. Lawson Christie didn't get a single lap in practice, but came back around for 24th in qualifying. Baron Hilton, P25, followed by Carmody in 26. Yannick Belleville will start from 27th. It's Eric Evans in 28th and Drew DeWeese in 29th. Hoskins rounds out 30th. 3 more cars, with Hebert being the last one to set a time. Aubrey and Sutton are lining up at the last spots on the grid, but will take to it. I do see all drivers in the session, so we should have all 33 of them getting to the green flag here. We're just about all gridded up and ready to go, DJ. But a cool afternoon here in Germany. Looks like it's pretty decent conditions for them.
Yeah, it's 72 degrees Fahrenheit out on track and 74% humidity, so that means there'll be a little bit more air for these GT3s to grab and get some downforce out of. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned about is that 13-mile-an-hour wind out of the southeast. That's going to present a little bit of crosswind here at points on the track, and that could really, really cause a little bit of problems. These are bigger cars, they're a little bit boxier, and so that could throw them off a little bit if a big gust comes in.
Certainly could. And, well, will it potentially cause a headwind on some of the fast straights that will help out the slipstream, too? There you can see in metric on what the temperatures and wind speed is. Here goes the Porsche pace car. allowing Wager control of the field out of the south curve. And he is on it. Green flag is out here for round 4. And they go single file quite early up at the front of the field. A little bit of a look from Blake Ziti into the first corner. But then he goes wide off of that one. Looking farther back to see if we get any problems with the rest of the field. And it looks like they're pretty much clean.
It is indeed, and that problem from Ziti is going to allow for a little bit of a side-by-side move there from John Stetzel, but Ziti able to hold it off. Stetzel able to get a better run there through the on-five parabolica, and so now he is going to be tucked behind that blue number 50 Ferrari. That's Stetzel pulling out to the inside.
It's our first show at what exactly it's going to look like in race conditions into this hairpin. Will everybody make it through here on the first lap? Because it gets crunched up into there. Thankfully, the front of the field is through clean. And I'm seeing everybody in the back give each other plenty of space, except until we get to Evans, who looks like he's involved in something with Belleville. Oh, and I see Gerson off the track in front of them. Oh, and cars are having to scatter. We don't see it on screen. We'll go back to it in a little bit.
Yeah, so there you go, Joe. The Spitzkara claiming its first victims out here today as the rest of the field makes their way through Mercedes. It almost looks like they're still wrecking in the back there. A lot of smoke getting kicked up. But our leaders here, Eric Luke doing a good job keeping behind Jonathan Wager right now. There you can see that's Kara closing in on the back of Rafael Bofill.
Watching the battle for 9th place here with Bofill, trying to both attack and defend at the same time. Coming out of the south curve after this first lap. Ooh, someone poking their nose down to the inside in the black and yellow machine, trying to give it a go side by side in the first corner. Kara on the inside of Hellberg, the 444, as he's trying to hold him off continually down into the parabolica entry, and it looks like they are going to get through clean, but it's still side by side, neither willing to give way.
No, neither willing to give way at all. And there you see that 444 of Setnate. Kara carrying a little bit more momentum around the outside, getting a nose ahead, but as the track curves to the left, advantage switches back to Leif Hellberg. It's now going to be tight on the binders. Who's going to have it? That's Kara a little bit better down to the inside. Hellberg tries to carry momentum, get the over-under. Oh, big wobble from Hellberg.
Woo. And he's already losing multiple positions. Alexander goes by, Bofill and Semkovic. Thankfully, he kept it from wrecking, though, so good save there from the 52.
Yeah, very good save on the outside. So there we go. Settling down here a little bit in the early stages. I guarantee you, though, there's going to be some more action to come very, very shortly.
Well, the good news is for the impartial viewer, Eric Luke is seeming to keep up with Jonathan Wager up at the front. It's still about half a second between them, and they are running away from those behind them as well. There you see the 709 on your screen, and look at the gap behind. That's already about a second and a half down to Daniel Knight.
Yes, it is. So those top two pulling away, but Jonathan Wager putting in the fastest lap of the race right now, and that is about 0.3 faster than Luke. So Luke's got to be a little bit careful about that, but looking like he's doing a good job of keeping up right now.
As long as he can hold on to that slipstream, that'll certainly help him. And this is where it's probably most effective, down the long parabolica into the Spitzkara. But he's gotten back to about 0.6 of a second. I fear that he might lose touch if he's not quick enough through some of the twistier bits.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. That's going to be the real concern. Little bit of a narrower entry there from Luke going through the Spitzkara. It cost him about 1/10 of a second on the exit there.
Things are settling in quite nicely through the rest of the field. I'm not seeing anybody making moves down to the Spitzkara. The second place 709 machine gathered it back up. It's down to 0.5 of a second again, but just hovering back and forth. I think there was a problem with the 32 of Lawson Christie off track at the Spitzkara. Not sure what caused that, but he's got the car going.
Yeah, it looks like he may have just run a little bit wide there or tagged some of the curbing. So Lawson able to get back going. He'll find himself back in 24th. That's Ficadenti behind him. And Luke Sutton, the latest car to get by the 32.
So a little bit of damage on the rear right, unfortunately. Yeah, that fender just not looking factory spec, unfortunately. I think we've got an opportunity potentially to look at the replay of the start here. Let's see if we've got that spooled up. I know the 31 car seems to be one of the big ones involved. That would be Evans. This is down into the Spitzkara. Yeah, this is the 31 of Eric Evans.
All right, there he is.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, he's in that blue, white, and red Apex button box machine. Too wide behind him. Does he check up? Oh, he was late on the brakes there, Joe, and tried to avoid, and that ended up sending him out onto the grass and getting spun around, and that's what caused that big kerfluffle there. All of those cars having to get out of the way.
It's a bit of a shame. At least it didn't look like there were any big hits out of that, although I'm not sure if some here on the second part. This must have been a completely separate incident. Trying to make out who all was involved in that one. Ooh, somebody parked across the track. Whoa! And after Peter Lee had got going from the first incident, unfortunately, he gets caught up in the second one immediately. Wow. And whoa, somebody was on their lid in the guardrail there. Wonder if that was Barry Cochran, because he looks like he's already exited this race.
Yeah, not exactly a great start to that, as it was a little bit rough, but checking back in on our leader, Jonathan Wager here, he's been able to keep that gap at about 0.7 of a second, so growing a little bit here over Eric Luke.
But the two of them are looking mighty today. Stetzel, who has overtaken Knight while we weren't looking, is now 4 seconds behind Eric Luke. So they've dropped them significantly in the first 5 laps of this race. If they keep this pace up, they're going to lap a good many cars. Here's Stetzel down towards the Spitzkara himself. Knight's about 0.7 back, so certainly not in a position to try and attack right now.
No, he's not. It will be a little bit interesting to see if Stetzel has some outright pace to try to close in, as he was behind Daniel Knight for a little bit, and Stetzel clearly has more pace in that blue and orange Ferrari, so trying to push it ahead here the best that he can. Don't know if it's going to be enough to catch up with our leaders, but he's going to give it his best go.
Absolutely. As we hop on board with Knight, we got a battle behind him between Ziti and Kara. The 444 is trying to bounce back from the penalties from the last round and through Mobile 1. Although Setene sticks his nose in, he's not able to get side by side with the 50. The unusual thing about the penalty that Setene got is it was for an incident on the pace lap of all things. So he took a lot of curb there. I hope he didn't damage the underside of the car, and likewise with the Ziti as he did on the last corner.
Yeah, ZD took that very wide, definitely ran over the sausage curb on the outside of it there, but was able to actually get a better getaway out of the south curve as a result. And again, that is ZD going a little bit wide. I gotta be careful if I'm Blake here. This is one of those tracks where you can pick up those off tracks, and next thing you know, you've got enough to warrant a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, remember, it's only 13 of them as well, so they will rack up quick, even if you're having one off per lap. Following with Setene Kara, still working on Blake Ziti. Not nearly close enough into the Spitzkara, but behind them, here comes Beau Phil, sending it down the inside of Semkovic, who's going to try to cross him over, and I think he might be able to have it, but he'll be on the outside into Mercedes. So what's it going to be under braking? He gains a little bit, but he has to back out of it. So, successful pass from the 786.
Yeah, that's a good move there from Beau Phil, just absolutely putting tenacity through those corners. That's a little bit of that fight back like we talked about coming into the Mercedes-Benz Arena. That was Semkovic running a little bit wide there. That's Neil Alexander behind him. He may be having a little bit of a look here on Semkovic if he's not careful.
It's quite a train that's forming up. And Beau Phil at the front of it now that he's managed to get by Semkovic. And Hellberg is in there along with Owen Mclaughlin, Paul Wildridge, all the way back down to the 777 of Mark File. They swing around and out of the final double apex right-hander onto the front stretch once again. A little bit of dirt getting kicked up by those going wide there past the AstroTurf, but no harm, no foul, and it's back through the north curve once again.
Yeah, and this is where they'll separate out just a hair through that fast right-hander. Not a lot of downforce in these cars, not a lot of aero wash, but just enough to throw off a little bit of handling. This is where it all comes down to, though, getting the exit here out of the entry to the Parabolica. Who's going to have the run? Looks a little bit like Wildridge may have something on Neil Alexander.
And also seems like Hellberg is very close to Alexander as well, coming up to the back of him, looking for the shot, tries to get his nose in there. Alexander's going to give him space off the corner. Hellberg's got it in front of them. It's side by side between Kara and Ziti once again. This time, though, Kara gets ahead and Ziti backs out.
Yeah, Kara just positioning that car in the middle of that sweeping right-hander and really forcing Ziti to get out of it. That's a really good, aggressive move that's not going to put either car at damage. It's just one of those things that Ziti knew he was going to run wide if he didn't back out.
This is working well for those two in front of them. Stetzel and Knight basically running away. So we watch them now come out of the Sachs curve. Phil trying to get away from the number 012, Spencer Simkovich. Oh, and did something happen to Pim Luth? Yes, the 33 is off the track in Sachs curve. Let's see if there was any help or if this was a unforced error.
Looks like he's driving relatively by himself. Good through Mobile 1, gets down onto the binders. Does he just get on? Yep, gets on the throttle a little bit early. That's an on-camber corner, Joe, but as it starts to level out, you've got to be applying the throttle slowly because once that track levels out, the balance of the car will shift around and it'll take a quick second to kind of figure everything out, and that's exactly what happened there for Pim.
Back to Ziti. He's not willing to give this one up, but he can't manage to get to the inside of the car. In fact, poor exit from that number 50.
Yeah, not a good exit there for Ziti. He's got to watch his mirrors now. Rafael Bofil back up to where he started. Look how much he was able to close there. Runs it a little bit wide coming through the Mercedes-Benz corner. Now he's going to have to try to catch up here. I don't think he'll really be close enough to make the move down into Mobile 1. Ooh, is that Alexander slowing in the back?
And I think Carmody and Glover with a nice little side-by-side battle here. This is for 14th position with Sean taking the spot. Man, this has been a huge climb in only 8 laps from 26th position to now 14th for Carmody. That's 12 positions in 8 circuits around here.
Yeah, really pretty remarkable, Joe. And for drivers like Carmody, sometimes that is just how you drive. There are drivers that are not good at qualifying, but you get them into race pace, they get into that rhythm, and they're able to take off and get a good run going. Carmody, though, is going to have to watch his backside as he is going to have Baron Glover coming up behind him.
Absolutely is, as they come off the first corner and down into the Parabolica entry once again. Glover being chased by Bergstrom. Pim Luth in there after his off. And then you've got Joe McCauley at the back of it. Down through the Parabolica once again. And the drivers all trying to size each other up. And we got one sending them into the Spitz. Kara, the 9, managed to get through.
I'm not sure if that wasn't a little bit of team orders there, Joe, between Mclaughlin and Wildridge. They are teammates. Looked like he backed off a little bit on that.
Into the Mercedes arena once again. And it looks like, Setane Kara may have lost connection here after what was looking like a good race for him. He has suddenly gone away, and Hellberg makes a nice pass as well there through the Mobile 1. That was gutsy.
Gutsy indeed, but Gutsy getting it done. There you see as they continue to wind their way back around, doing a good job there to keep that 52 in front and try to press an advantage here.
Back onto the front stretch, and look at just how many cars are all bunched together here. Some of them thinking about it into the north curve. That is always so hard to try and make passes into the hair. Oh, and what happened to Wager? Luke was as far back as 0.8 of a second, and now he's only 0.3 behind.
I'm not entirely sure. It did look like Wager had a bit of a slow lap. He ran a 39.1 compared to Luke's 38.6. So I don't know if that was a little bobble there from Wager or maybe just slowing the car down, trying not to heat up the tires too much. But Luke definitely starting to apply pressure here to the previously dominant 47 machine. Remember, Jonathan has not lost a race this year.
He was going to be the person to eventually pull one over on that 47 machine, or can anybody manage to beat him? It's not unheard of for the PRL series, the PRL league, having somebody win every single race in a season. Modoff, as far as I'm aware, is the only driver to have done that so far, and that was in the GTE cars way long ago at this stage. Down into the Sachs curve once again, and still keeping them honest at about 0.4 behind. Back to Beaufil now, around Mobile 1. Bit of a defensive move there from the 50.
Yeah, just trying to put Beaufil a little bit on a bad line, but it caused ZD to run a little bit wide there on the exit of the Sachs curve. Now they come down into the south curve here. Beaufil just picking his lines, waiting for the opportunity to attack. He's very, very close behind. It looks like he's only about 0.4 of a second back, so really he's got two corners here that he has got to absolutely nail, and then he can try a run going down the Parabolica,
which is going to come up pretty soon. Here's the Parabolica entry. Let's see if he can square that one off. Beaufil looking for the best launch possible. Have to compromise a bit as you come around. And as they swing on, he looks a little too far back to me.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite got it, but I'll tell you who may have a move here, and that is Paul Wildridge back in 10th position. He is all over the back of Spencer Semkovich. There you can see it. He was almost looking like he was going to make a move coming out of the Einfahrt Parabolica, going to make it, try to work around the outside as Semkovich goes defensive. The 9 carrying a little bit more momentum. Can he keep it up? They're going to be side by side on the exit of the Spitzkehre.
With a little bit of a nose ahead. You think maybe he would have the advantage, and yes, he does. He is fully through. Oh, but sending it back very deep. Oh, and they're going to come together. Spencer Semkovich plowing into the side of Wildridge, goes back ahead of him, and his car looks a little loose now. I wonder if he got some damage from that. Wildridge sizes him up into Mobile 1, tries to chuck it in. He gets in there somehow, but he can't make the pass stick.
Can't make the pass stick. He's now looking for a move on the outside of the Sachs curve. We ride on board with him here. He's got to back off a little bit on Semkovich. That was a great defense there from Spencer.
Well, that got rough for a moment as well, and it has brought in Mclaughlin and File in this fight for 9th place. Coming onto the front stretch, looks like Spencer is able to pull a little bit of a gap. Oh, trying to get in his mirrors, get in his head. Wildridge bobbing and weaving.
Yeah, that mental game we always talk about, that looked like a little bit of an aggressive move coming off the curbing there. That is a little over-aggressive weaving there. I think just really trying to get in Semkovich's head. Look at the run, though, there. Right up behind, better on the binders and a better exit for Spencer Semkovich, or for Paul Wildridge, rather. Here he comes. You can see that draft starting to take effect. Semkovich fading a little bit. Now Wildridge goes to the inside.
Can he get through this time is the question. No defense from Semkovich around through the Spitzkehre, and somehow I thought Spitzer was going to get overtaken by Mclaughlin. And look at that. He cuts back once again, manages to get side by side. He's going to pull the same move over again. Oh, it's going to be a little bit closer this time. Chucking it into the corner. This time he doesn't hit the side of the 9 car. Tries to come back and cut underneath him. And the battle carries on, unending.
It is the never-ending battle. Ooh, very close there, down that mini straight, breaking down into Mobile 1 there, side by side. Both cars keeping it on the track, a little bit off there for Paul Wildridge. He's finally got the car in front. Semkowicz tried to get down on the inside of the Spetskara bar on the Sachs curve, but not able to get it done.
Well, with us referencing appropriately German books, it is going to be Paul Wildridge who comes away your leader. And I think we've got our first pitters. Stetzel and Knight are in the lane.
All right, so trying to go for a little bit of an undercut here for those drivers. Obviously ticking down under... Whoa! That was a little bit of an aggressive move there for Owen Mclaughlin, and it's going to cost. But here comes Mark Feil down to the inside of Semkowicz.
Woo, things are spicy in this group. Semkowicz is going to hold him off. The Mark Feil past Owen Mclaughlin now, and he wants more. It looks like Stetzel and Knight are back out of the pits. They're going to return in 16th and 17th.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got a couple of more pitters farther down in the field. Luth, Glover, McCauley in there as well. There you see again, though, Feil trying to take a look on Semkowicz. Not exactly effective there. Semkowicz looks like he's got a good run out of the corner, though. Here they come down into the Mercedes-Benz section. Nobody really close enough to be able to get the move done.
Nope. But relatively close to one another is Beaufil and Ziti. I thought Raphael would try and make a move on Blake, but he decided not to. We should see more pit stops pretty soon throughout the fields. Those drivers may be trying to just undercut somebody, including our leaders are in. No, just Wager. And it looks like, oh, Wager was held up by DeWeese. It was a slow entry. This might be what Eric Luke has been looking for because he continues on. And Beaufil also pitting.
All right, so Beaufil obviously getting a little bit tired of sticking behind Blake Ziti. They're going for the undercut as well. I see Spencer Semkowicz diving into the pit lane as well. So a lot of these guys trying to go for a little bit of an undercut here to see what they can do.
Can we get an onboard replay of Wager's entry into pit lane? This absolutely had to have held him up because I think he even made contact with DeWeese. So 13 minutes left to go. Here's the replay. So here's the look from above. This is a lapped car that you're going to see in front of him. Wager may be thinking, you know, he's going to pit when the others don't, but then suddenly this strategy goes awry right here.
Ooh. Big checkup, maybe even some front wing or from front nose damage there for Jonathan Wager. That's definitely going to cost him a couple of tenths in the pit lane. I'm looking right now about 2 seconds longer than the average cone-to-cone time for Jonathan Wager.
Uh-oh. That's bad news. So Luke has an open goal right now, and he's actually coming around through the stadium section right now. So there you see the 47 continuing on around. Jonathan Wager has led pretty much every lap of this race until the pit stops, and Luke is responding. Luke is in.
Yeah, Luke is in, and no lap traffic to slow him down. So as we keep an eye on this, Jonathan Wager coming through the Mobile 1 curve right now as Eric Luke is down and on to the pit lane speed limiter.
With nobody around him, all he has to do is hit his marks, and he was within less than a second of Wager. Looks like Blake Ziti also pitting. Paul Wildridge is pitting in. Wager's coming around the final corner. Luke is just now exiting. This is going to be tight. Wager coming across the front stretch, and Luke's got it.
Yes, he does. Eric Luke able to pull that out. We will wait and see what this advantage settles down to. Looking like it's going to be in the vicinity of 3 seconds for the number 709 machine.
Which matches up to what I'm seeing on the cone-to-cone time, 3 seconds quicker for Eric Luke. Well, my dad always said I'd rather be lucky than good, and Eric Luke has got the rub of the green today.
Indeed, he does. Now, the question's going to be, as we saw a lot of outright speed out of Jonathan Wager, we'll have to keep an eye to see if he closes, but this is a good battle post-pit stops. This is Leif Hellberg coming up behind Neil Alexander.
We've been watching Alexander in some good battles today. Hellberg, the one trying to challenge him there in the 52. Slightly defensive move there from Neil for a brief moment. Now he comes back to the racing line. He doesn't see that black number 52 showing his nose. Feels safe enough. Only driver that still needs to pit I'm seeing is Alec Bergstrom. Otherwise, everybody has been in.
Yeah, I believe that is right across the board. So as we continue to watch this battle, Hellberg not able to do it, and I'm hearing Bergstrom is in the pits, so everybody having pitted at this point.
Yes, it looks like timing and scoring had missed a trick for me. So yeah, Bergstrom has been into the pits. That means everybody is now done. And let's see, what are we going to have? About 7 more laps, I think, based on the lap times. Matthew Aubrey saying he's pitting in, so maybe that was our only one we were waiting on. 6 laps to go, we're hearing. And that would be about half a second a lap that Wager has to make up to catch up to Luke.
Well, he's already got the gap down under 3 seconds at this point as they go down the parabolica. It's holding at about 2.9 seconds, so that'll be good news for Wager. The other thing that he'll have to keep in mind is it looks like there's some lap traffic right in front of Eric Luke in the tune of Lawson Christie and Eric Evans. If he catches them at the wrong point, that could slow up our leader a little bit.
Not the thing that he wants to see right now. Down into the Mercedes arena. And I see Carmody into pit lane. I thought Carmody had already been in the pits. Wonder if he got a drive-through penalty for too many incidents like that. As Luke just went wide. No, Carmody is in the pit lane. So I wonder if he got damaged then, potentially.
And maybe just needs to get a little bit repaired here at this point. Luke going along. That is right in front of him. That is the 25th place car of Lawson Christie. So that is Lawson Christie. So this is not exactly the sector that you want to catch him. Hopefully Lawson will get off to the side here on the start-finish straight.
He's not pulling over. And Lawson's still sticking to the racing line. He doesn't have to pull over. It is informational only as long as he doesn't intentionally hold up Eric Luke. And now he lifts with Eric getting to the inside of him. The damage is still done. It's down to about 2.8 seconds to Wager.
Yes, it is. And you can see Wager taking off there like a bullet down the straightaway. And now it looks like it's going to have to deal with... as we ride on board with Wager here, he'll have to deal with Christie in time.
And so that could give some of that time right back, as Wager could also lose it in traffic. Keeping an eye on the rest of the field, seeing if we've got any other battles starting to brew. But many of the drivers have separated by a decent amount, and nobody's really in a place to attack. Alexander Hellberg and Wildridge are close, but you can see there's nothing worth trying for Hellberg that time into the Spitzker. Wow, a very shallow exit for Alexander, and I'm not sure why.
Looks like he caught a little bit of curbing on the inside, and that may have been what had been there. You see that super defensive move as he goes out wide to try to hold it. Oh, is that going to be on through for the 52? Yes, it is. Leif Hellberg gets on by, and now Semkowicz has got to be careful because I think Owen McLaughlin's got visions of making that pass over.
Textbook move there for Hellberg to take P7. Wildridge really getting all over Alexander now. And behind them, catching up, it is Mark Feil up from 13th on the grid. He's into 10th. He could see yet more spots if he can take advantage of this squabbling.
Yeah, he certainly could, and really and truly, Wildridge has done a great job here just keeping the car going forward, jumping slowly by slowly up and around. So he has done a good job here, 0.3 of a second, little bit driving over on the curbs on that, but he is just pushing that car with under 6 minutes to go.
I can tell you that Wager did get by Lawson Christie and lap him, but it was on the parabolica, so he didn't lose hardly any time at all. Here we go again for 7th, 8th, and 9th. And it looks like Hellberg is well too far away for Alexander to fight back. Wildridge is thinking about it. Late defense from the red number 27. Back to the racing line for him. And he won't give up the spot yet.
No, and behind him, his teammate of Owen Mclaughlin, you can see in the back of your screen, tried to get a move done on Spencer Semkovic through the Spitzkara, and that was unsuccessful. So everybody's staying in line here at this point. There you can see Mclaughlin trying to get that move done. He's really been hassling the 0-1-2. Ooh, a little bit of a wiggle there from Spencer. That could set up a move for Owen.
For some reason, it looks like Mclaughlin was slower out of the arena. So back into the stadium now and through Mobile 1. Simkovic not looking that fast around some of the medium speed turns. Braking for the Sachs curve. Mclaughlin gets within about a quarter of a second, but nothing doing.
Yeah, nothing doing there, and it's not like the cars will be set up differently for different points of this track. This is a fixed series, so it is all down to driver skill. It may just be a situation where Spencer's not feeling nearly as comfortable in those medium speed corners.
12 leading the way. Luke has been catching yet more traffic. This time it played a little nicer because it was his teammate in the form of Eric Evans. And down into the parabolic entry, Spencer Simkovic. Uh-oh. I think Mclaughlin's much closer this time. He's going to have the slipstream, and he's got a good shot at it.
Yes, he does. Is he going to try to go for the move here? He's coming on with a full head of steam, starts to poke his nose to the inside of Semkovic. Semkovic gets a little defensive. Oh, doesn't want to make the move here yet. Is he trying to set him up? Whoa! Almost has to check up on the brakes. A big wobble. Took too much of the curve there on the Spitzkara. I think that's going to cost him.
Yeah, he saw at the wheel to catch that one. Thankfully, he did not go around, but he's got ground to make up at this stage. And I believe, watching our leader to see what's going on up there. Eric Luke crossing the line right about now. So 3:12 left to go. We're going to have enough for both of those laps. How tight is that?
I think that's going to be around 2. We'll see here, but we'll have to keep an eye. Can also report that that gap still hovering at about 2.7 seconds for the lead.
Wager not making inroads like I thought. This is making me think that Luke hanging out behind him was not just down to the slipstream. The 709 had legitimate pace there. He had a little luck with the pit stop sequence, but man, he has capitalized perfectly as we watch Beaufil.
Yeah, exactly. It's not exactly like Luke was able to pull away here in this stage, but he at least has pace to match Wager. I mean, Joe, on that last lap, Luke put down a 38.639, Wager a 38.615.
Apologies, this is Pim Bluth on screen, teammate to Beaufil. Out of the parabolic entry, Gerson having none of that. And just behind, this is Bergstrom trying to give chase to see if he can get another position in addition to the 4 that he has gained. Luth is actually back where he started in 14th.
Now, Pim's had a pretty good recovery drive here to get back up into that 14th position and starting to look at a little bit more, it has to be said.
Pim's... Oh. And Pim, unfortunately, with a little bit of a mistake. Bergstrom has a shot at it. And I think Pim just, ordered him to go to the inside over the radio. He doesn't want to try and fight it. Thought he was going to get to be a cool hand Luth for the rest of the race, but he's just going to give it up instead. 1 minute 17 to go, and I failed to look at our leaders to see when they cross the line. This could be the white flag. This could be 2 to go. We just don't know.
It's going to be close one way or the other. We're hearing that they'll be coming to white flag on this lap, I believe. So they've got a little bit more here, and that's good news for Jonathan Wager to try to close in on that gap. He does have it down to about 2.3 seconds there, but part of that is courtesy of a little bit more lap traffic. There's a car off in front. That is the number 20. Big damage to that machine.
There's Luke Sutton and... Baron Glover, I think, involved in that potentially. just went back and looked at it. So big wreck between the two of them, but we're already towards the end, so we'll have to investigate it later. And into the stadium section one last time, 20 seconds to go. I think this is actually the last lap here. Okay, so the white flag has flown for Eric Luke, and as he comes around the south curve, even though he's got Peter Lee in front of him, there's no worries because he's going to be the first person to beat Jonathan Wager this season. Eric Luke, your winner in Germany.
A great drive there from Eric Luke to just be able to hold on to that advantage. Jonathan Wager coming home behind him in second. John Stetzel doing a good job up 2 positions from his starting place of 5th. He will be in 3rd.
Daniel Knight with a 4th place today. And Bo Phil winding up 5th after starting from 7th. I see Hellberg just managing to hold off Alexander and Wildridge back there, along with File in tow. A few close-ish battles, but it seems like nobody really able to make any moves. I think Luth and Bergstrom, the next one, tight behind them. This is for 14th position. Luth going to be able to stay ahead of Alec for the time being. And we had 20 cars on the lead lap this time, with Baron Hilton being the last of them in our 33 starters. Let's go through our finishing order here. And as we said, it was Eric Luke with the win over Jonathan Wager. It was John Stetzel rounding out the podium, with Daniel Knight finishing in 4th. Rafael Bofill took 5th, followed by Hellberg in 6th position. Alexander up 4 spots to 7th. Same thing with Wildridge into 8th, and File from 13th to 9th. And it's Mclaughlin finishing exactly where he started in 10th.
Spencer Semkowicz seemed to be involved in battles the entire race, but he was able to come home in 11th, followed by Joseph Gerson. Blake Ziti fell down the order there into 13th, with Pim Luth behind him. Alex Bergstrom came home in 14th, with Joe McCauley in 15th. Yannick Belleville 16th, with Randy Gross and Brian Hoskins behind him. Blake Ziti we're actually seeing jumping down the order a little bit more, so not sure what's on that. And rounding out your top 20, the last driver on the lead lap, Baron Hilton.
21st went to Eric Evans, with Lawson Christie, and at 22nd it's Sean Carmody, P23, followed by Luke Sutton in 24th. Then you get to cars 2 laps down, with Baron Glover in that wreck late on. 25th, Charlie Sumner in 26th, and DeWeese in 27th. Peter Lee, P28 today, 3 laps down. Aubrey, 29th, and then it is DNFs from there to the end of the fields. We've got Eric Luke ready to talk to us about his victory here today. We had asked him earlier in the season about what it's going to take to try and beat Jonathan Wager. And I don't know if you've had a chance to see exactly how you got the lead away, but the answer was, Luke, lap traffic in the pit sequence.
I was curious as to what happened, and good evening, gentlemen, because he was about a second in front of me when he dove into the pits. And when I came out of the pits, I was almost 3 seconds in front of him. So I didn't know if something happened to him in the pits. I haven't seen the replay. I'm not sure what happened, but I will take the good fortunes.
And what impressed us here today is, while Wager kind of pulled away from everybody in previous rounds, you actually seem to have kept with him based on pace, because Wager didn't catch back up after that loss of time in the pit stops.
I was really surprised. He had a little bit on me in the stadium section, and I knew that's where I was weak against him. And I was doing a lot of lifting and coasting as I was behind him during the opening laps before the pit stops, just trying to conserve fuel. I knew he had pace here. He was quick in practice. So my goal was to hopefully jump him in the pits and be able to keep him behind me coming out of the pits. And I was able to pull that off, so I'm extremely happy about that.
Goal achieved, sir. And next round, we're going off to Interlagos. Can you make it a twofer?
I would like to. I'm kind of hit or miss on Interlagos. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. It's a very fun track. I like the elevation changes. I like the sweeping corners that it carries through there. So I'm expecting a fun race with Jonathan again.
Well, we hope we get one, as this one was fascinating to watch. Congratulations on the win. Is there anybody you want to thank that helped make it happen?
Thanks to you guys at Global Sim Racing Channel. You guys do a fantastic job as always. I love watching the broadcast post race, and a big shout out to Sim Racing Madness. Check them out at simracingmadness.com as well as apexbuttonbox.com.
Thank you very much. That was our winner, Eric Luke, and that's going to wrap up our interviews here for the the Ferrari Challenge class. And next, we head off to the GT3 AMS at Road America. More racing coming your way for the Precision Racing League, so don't go away. Welcome to Road America. We've returned with the Precision Racing League GT3 Amateur Series. It's round 4 here. And as we saw last night, this track provides plenty of fun. Any driver, any car that you bring here. So let's go to our lap guide to understand why that's the case. Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track is laid out. Long straights are a major feature, and drivers will build up incredible momentum before they find themselves interrupted by tight 90-degree corners. In fact, for a 4-mile circuit, it has shockingly few turns. It also has little in the way of variation in layouts. The main course is only broken up once with a single chicane added in the bend version. But don't take this to mean that it's a boring track. Elevation change happens many times over a lap, with a few places taking you into corners which are quite blind. But two of the turns on the back half of the course are perhaps the most distinctive. One is the carousel with its more than 180-degree radius. It just feels like it never stops. The other is the kink. Terrifyingly fast with very little runoff, it can end someone's race in a flash. As you'd expect, the heavy braking zones make for some ideal overtaking spots. Turn 5 sees plenty with its downhill entry. The hurried downs can offer drivers a chance at a sneak attack if you're brave, and then Canada Corner gives you one last shot before the lap is over. It's no wonder major organizations such as IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the SCCA all host major races here. All in all, many drivers rate this track as the best track in North America. Many who hop in the seat and try it can quickly understand why. Well, Road America definitely will give us some enjoyment, but DJ, with these GT3s, after what we watched last night, what are we expecting?
Well, we'll expect some enjoyment, and Joe, we may expect a little bit of chaos as well. As we've seen multiple times, cars can get into each other going down into turn 1, specifically off the start. It's a good overtaking opportunity on paper, but the fact that it's more of a sweeping fast corner, especially in these GTs, means that you normally want to lay off a little bit and not really go for an overtake until you get down into turn 5, past the moraine sweep, that heavy braking first gear left-hander. That is the way to go. From there, it's very tricky. You've got to get turn 6 right in these GTs. There's a lot of weight transfer as you come up over the crest under the bridge and take that left turn, and then again down through the hurry downs. These cars need to be careful not to run wide at turn 8, as we've seen a lot of them do, and a lot of cars come up into the grass and fling back across the track and may catch somebody. But from there, it's all then about angling the car just right through the carousel, getting that clean air on the front of the car to be able to get the best run through the kink, through kettle bottoms, and down into one of the other best overtaking zones, down into Canada Corner. If you can get those two areas, turn 5 and Canada Corner right, you may be able to get a good pass or two done here. But other than that, you've just got to keep all 4 tires on the black stuff.
Indeed. Easier said than done, I suppose. And, well, it's easier said to lead the championship than to actually do it, but Trepanier is still up at the top, even though he didn't win last round. Kevin Norris is the one chasing him behind by about 7 points, but it was Nathan Nicholson, the one who came away with the victory at Hungary. So we'll see if Nathan can repeat that here today, and he jumps up into the top 5 with that victory, tied with Langlois, as Robbie Campbell is just barely ahead of them as well. What about the teams championship here, DJ?
Well, in that teams championship, ASR AMA is ahead right now of L1 Esports Red by about 21 points. So a breathable margin, let's call it. But from there back, it's anything but. TML Motorsports only 10 points back of second, and NTR Motorsports Magenta only 3 points back from them. NTR Motorsports Yellow only 9 points back from their sister team. So a very, very close battle there, really and truly, between 3rd and 5th. A little bit of room to make up to get up to 1st, but it's certainly closable here in the early stages of this season.
I'd say so. It's all about how you perform here in the middle of the season. As you can see, we're just about at the halfway point, round 4 here today. But unlike last time, what we saw with the Ferrari Challenge, it is 40 minutes for the GT3M race. And it is open setup this time, so drivers can try to find some speed that way, unlike those Ferraris. And there is a drive-through penalty at 13 incidents still, along with a disqualification at 17 incidents. And with how tight it's looking up at the top, only 7 points between P1 and P2. The fastest lap, the pole, and the 3 incidents or less bonus could be valuable to our drivers when all is said and done. There on their warm-up laps right now out there on the circuit. You can see some of them coming around through the kettle bottoms, narrowly weaving their way along amongst the trees. And that really gives you a sense of speed at this place. Many modern tracks out well into the open so that everybody has sight lines. Nope, this one is a flight through the forest at a couple stages.
Yeah, it really is, Joe. And when you're behind the cockpit, it just gives you that sense of immense speed like you talked about. And frankly, it gets your adrenaline pumping a little bit more when you get onto the binders because you see those woods and the trees and the walls so close to you. You know your margin for error is so minimal. Watch here. This is Nick Mclaughlin making his way around right now. Going down into that great turn one, Nick representing the blue oval out here, the only driver to do so.
He's among the first that looks like they might set a time. I see Robbie Campbell out there, potentially able to get one down first, though, but they're very tight together. As we watch Mclaughlin's on board here with the Ford. Not a very popular car in both the Pro and Am series. See if he can make the apex here at 5. And yeah, just nice and tidy through there, although a little wide, but I think he's fine from that.
Yeah, indeed. And as you mentioned, a very unpopular car. There, he was able to catch that back under him. But I will say, the lone Ford out in the pro session yesterday, Villeneuve, had a great run up through the field. So clearly that Ford in the right hands can do some pretty impressive things.
Yeah, no doubt. And Villeneuve was very happy with himself after that finish. I can report on the forums coming off of the carousel here. The Ford now down into the kink. I don't think he's going to have the fastest by any stretch of the imagination because Robbie Campbell on my screen is looking pretty close to him at this stage. And as they come down into Canada Corner, here we switch to Kevin Norris, another one of our onboard drivers today, a little bit behind them.
Yeah, and Kevin here driving the most popular car in the AM series right now, and that is the BMW, a pretty all-around good car. Driving it through that last corner, multiple lines you can take through there. On to the power now and up the hill. Here he goes. Let's see what Kevin's got.
Crossing the line, and it looks like Sepulveda has our quickest time. Kevin Norris into 4th temporarily. Mclaughlin getting shuffled down to P5 now as Malbron goes up into 2nd. Morales into P4. Breton in the 89 now onto the 2nd row into 3rd. And Trepanier! There goes Trepanier. Sorry, DJ.
No, you're all good. And Nikos Xanadakis with a killer time there up into 3rd place, only 2/10 off of our leader. So some very, very good driving here at the top. Indeed, it looks like about the top 15 separated by less than 0.7 of a second.
And the pole goes to Rafael Vieira now in the 51. Less than a second from 1st to 3rd, or less than 1/10 of a second, rather, from 1st to 3rd there. Trepanier, Sepulveda just behind them. And it's also tremendously tight from P8 down to, about P17, it looks like. There's nobody in amongst there that is more than 1/10 apart from one another.
Yeah, very, very close running. And Joe, that's so incredibly surprising around such a long track like this. There is so many different places you can make a little bit of a mistake. And so for all of these drivers to keep as close as they are, just remarkable.
Huge field here today. 30-plus cars taking out to this monstrous 4-mile track. Here's another one of our onboards today, Kwok Nin, giving us a perspective. Usually has a green screen with some sort of Porsche behind him. Let's see if he's got the same today. Nope, looks like a Bimmer, actually.
Yeah, so there he is as he dives his way down into that tricky turn 5. Remember, that's a downhill corner. You can use the weight of the car to slow you down, but at the same time, you've got to be careful of those front brakes locking up. Here he comes through turn 6. Little bit of counter steer, but looked like Kwok was able to handle that corner quite well.
Someone heading into pit lane here in the qualifying. So who is going to be able to get all 4 laps in? Will any of them be able to get all 4 laps in? Mclaughlin down through the carousel. Long drop in elevation here as it looks like Trepanier just snatched the lead back from Vieira by 0.5 of a second, and now Horvath joins them up towards the front, beating Sepulveda by 7/1000ths to that spot.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. Nico Xanadakis unable to set a good time there. He actually reset to the pits. He's going to have another crack at it out here and have one more lap to go as they get out and going. We ride on board with Horvath, currently your highest placed Porsche right now. Remember, we talked about this car, pretty quick in a straight line, but tends to be a little bit squirrely on the rear end. It's rear-wheel drive, rear engine, and that rear end likes to step out, so it takes a very, very delicate hand to drive it quickly.
That off and around through turn 6. Vargas jumps up to 19th as we're watching this drive. And we're going to see some drivers start their final lap pretty soon, since it's just over 2 minutes to run around here. So who's the first to get their last lap through? It looks like Sepulveda is going to finish out first. He's sitting in 4th, so we might want to watch that 248. Here he is on screen now. Can he get on the front row?
Well, he's going to be pushing for it. That's a good wide angle going into turn 14. That'll carry a lot of momentum. Nope, he is not going to do it, and he is going to pull on off into the pits. So Vicente saying no. Let's see if Trepanier is able to improve on his time.
As he comes around into the final turn, his quickest, a 2:04.029. Vieira's not out there to respond. He's not to complete the lap. He doesn't like it. Swindells comes in. Pablano is the next one through. He's one of only 2 drivers that has not set a time. We're watching Horvath on our screen, and Pablano puts a 2:04.945, so he is going to get one down, and Horvath was just shy by 0.5 on improving his time.
That is tantalizingly close for him. Bevel here coming in currently in 9th, trying to improve on a 2:04.5. Crosses up over the hill. It's a late finish line here. He is able to improve by about 0.02 of a second, and that's enough to bump him above Jose Malbran.
Ooh. Small gains are meaningful here today. Xanadakis abandons on his lap. Scardura not going to take it in. I see Robertson here out of Canada corner will be behind Kwok Nin in the 86. He's up to 6th place himself. Here you see the green and black BMW. Looks like it's a decent time, but will it be enough as he approaches? Looking for better than a 2:04.481, and no.
Nicholson could be on for something good here. He's going to cross the line with a 2:03.9, and that's the pole, Joe!
Last round's winner has returned with a mighty lap, and Caven Norris gets himself into 7th in the meantime as the last of the clock ticks down. And let's go through our starting order here today. Nathan Nicholson on the pole will be followed by Vincent Trepanier, the only one to break the 2:04 mark, Nathan Nicholson. Rafael Vieira will start from 3rd as Devin Horvath is 5th. Vicente Sepulveda will be in P5. Nico Xanadakis gets bumped down to 6th late in the qualifying. Caven Norris, he'll be 7th, followed by Kwok Nin in 8th and Claude Belval in 9th. And it's Malbran rounding out your top 10.
In 11th, it's Luis Reedy, followed by Fabio Scardura, with Alexander Breton and Kyle Robertson lining up behind them in row 7. Rodrigo Morales will be 15th, followed by Gabriel Moreau, with Nick Mclaughlin and Robbie Campbell in row 9. Jean-Claude Langlois will be starting off in 19th, and rounding out your top 20, it's Lucio Vargas.
Matt Hilton, P21 today, with Ethan Tavitas in 22nd. Pablano, P23 with his lone lap that counted. Philippe Magnon in 24th. Paul Espina, he'll slot into 25th. Marc-Andre Desjardins in 26th. And it's Richard Swindells in 27th and Christopher Rhines 28th. Bowie Swin is starting 29th, followed by Chet Miller. Last 3 to set time was David Morris, Kwiatkowski, and Nathan Miller. Burmeister is in the session. I don't see him on the grid yet. We'll see if he makes his way out there or not, hopefully soon, because we're only missing 2 cars, and they've got 20 seconds left to grid. So we're getting ready to race already here, DJ.
We are indeed, and we do have the full pace lap around here. So lots of time for these drivers to get their tires a little bit up to temperature if they want. Currently 75 degrees out on track right now, so a little bit chilly by racing standards, but wind coming out of the west at about 5 miles an hour. Now that's going to be a crosswind going down the straightaways and a little bit of a headwind into some of the corners, like out of turn 5 and maybe coming out of Canada corner, it'll be a tailwind. So that could do a little bit of affication, but nothing too big there, I think, in terms of that wind.
We've already caught some glances of our onboards, but now that we got some time, let's give you a run through of who's given us some perspectives with their webcams today, starting with Kyle Robertson. He is starting from position number 14. So he is very much in the mid-pack, could have quite a bit of action to show us. We'll try and check in. Hopefully he doesn't wind up falling victim to some of the incidents we've seen other drivers in the Pro Series happen to them. And then we saw him earlier, Hockenhiem, starting from 8th spot. He'll be a little bit higher up the order on the outside of that 4th row. He's going to be lining up just to the outside of Kevin Norris. And finally, it is Nick Mclaughlin, the last of our onboards today. Another one a little bit farther down, starting from 17th here in his 4GT. Chatting away with somebody on his team, or perhaps a spotter of some sort, as he gets ready to go today. And a few drivers maybe accelerating and braking, trying to get themselves a little bit of temperature into those tires. Oh, and we got one more here. We've got Kevin Norris as well. And Kevin going to be starting up in 7th place. So we've got a 4th row with both cams. One of our VR users, actually both of them on the 4th row are VR users.
Well, that'll certainly be helpful for the two of them. They'll be able to see each other pretty easily. Yeah, you can see a lot of those drivers weaving this way and that as they make their way through the hurry downs here, trying to get those tires just as much temperature as possible. Like I said, that first corner, when you're coming off of the line, it's going to be a real light brush brake, probably down to 3rd, maybe 4th gear for these GT3s. And so you want as much grip in those front tires as possible when you go through there, especially in those Porsches that have that tendency to the rear end to want to step out on them. You want to make sure that you've got good tire temperature, good grip across all 4 pieces of rubber.
Well, DJ, let's offer the bag of peanuts and address the elephant in the room on this one. Turn 5 last round. That saw so many perils. There were drivers making contact with one another, outbraking themselves, hitting the wall. Don't know really what was going wrong there, particularly bad that day. Will we see more of that here today, or do you think the drivers were watching and taking notes?
I would hope the drivers are watching and taking notes going down there. Like I said, it is a tricky corner, mainly because you're going downhill. Yes, you can use the momentum of your car to actually, and the gravity to slow yourself down, but the problem is that puts a little bit more pressure on the front brake pads, and it can cause a front lockup. And that's what we see a lot of times happening in that pinball, that domino effect that we see going through there. So I have to imagine drivers watch that race. They're going to be a little bit more cautious about it. But the problem's going to be, if it happens, it'll be in the mid-pack again, where you just get so bunched up and there's absolutely nowhere to go, and you just don't anticipate that concertina in front of you.
Here we go as the Porsche base car pulls off into pit lane, and Nathan Mclaughlin has control of the field. He is off immediately, does not wait around. Green flag is out here for round 4 of the GT3 AM series. Mclaughlin got a huge jump over Trepanier, and Vieira might be able to take advantage of it. He's looking to the inside, and that BMW flashing his lights. Hopefully, this will be safe down into turn 1. Little bit of check up behind them as they all accordion together. but so far so good. Down into the mid-pack, you see them now coming to turn 3. We are clean at the start.
Looks like Hockenhiem getting into a little bit of side-by-side action down into turn 3, but here we go, down the moraine sweep. This is where it's all about, the draft coming into play. Drivers moving this way and that. Not a lot of close racing here at this point to precipitate a move going down into turn 5, but let's see what plays out.
Braking hard into that left-hander. I see one move taken by Mclaughlin onto Norris, but doesn't stick behind them. It looks like we're not having any craziness like we witnessed in the first lap of the pros. Everybody through there, but look at this fight on your screen.
We ride on board with Hockenhiem here in the popcorn position. This is Kevin Norris and Mclaughlin. Mclaughlin moving this way and that, trying to find something, anything doing here. I gotta tell you, Jose, you may want to hold off until you come through the carousel here. Your best place to overtake is going to be going down into Canada Corner. But he checks up, and that in turn causes Hockenhiem to check up a little bit.
So some guys feel a little bit anxious here at the start of this race, apparently. Norris much stronger in that purple 15 off of the kink. Trepanier has been keeping Mclaughlin honest at the front. It's still 0.3 of a second between the pair of them. There you see them on screen now, coming across and through Bill Mitchell Bend.
All right, yeah, so those leaders starting to separate out a little bit as there you can see Trepanier just closing in on Mclaughlin. Mclaughlin trying to weave a little bit in that Porsche as he wants to break that draft.
And Burmeister started from pit lane, and he's going to slow. I was going to say he's going to empty out right in the middle of the pack. There you can see him in that orange BMW. Thankfully, saw that coming, decided might as well just let everybody by, since he's going to go a lap down anyways. So, Mclaughlin, Trepanier, Vieira, your podium. Horvath very close behind them. And, did something happen to Scardura behind them? I thought I saw him losing positions. Yeah, he had a bobble out of turn 1. Looks like he put 2 wheels off. And the battle continues with him. Look at this train forming. That's Moreau, Breton, Campbell, Mclaughlin down to the inside. Breton spies an opportunity, and the ones behind them as well trying to get in, and they're going to spin. Everybody has to avoid. Moreau goes way off track. So does the Canadian. He's going to get turned around. Campbell finds himself facing backwards. It wasn't lap 2 that caused it, or lap 1 that caused it this time. It was lap 2.
But turn 5 striking again, Joe, sending those drivers just absolutely scuttling, and that's what can happen. The track narrows down there at that point, and you get 1 or 2 drivers off. There's only one good line, and you get calamity.
And I think that was started by the 89 with that contact he made with Scardura. So, just sad to see a bunch of other cars, unfortunately, get collected. And here we go for the lead, having to go defensive. Mclaughlin down the inside, covering off Trepanier into Canada Corner. The Canadian with his country's turn, not going to find it giving him the lead yet, but he almost pushes that 4-5-6 through the penultimate corner.
This is getting very spicy indeed, and that battling has allowed for Vieira to catch up right behind, and I think he may have timed that pretty well, but also timing it well was Trepanier. Look at this draft train. That's Horvath coming in there as well in that other Porsche. No weaving now from Mclaughlin. Mclaughlin down to the inside as Trepanier tries to make the move on the outside, bringing Rafael Vieira along with him as Rafael Vieira sets the fastest lap of the race, and they dive into turn 1.
Side by side for the lead. Inside goes to Mclaughlin, and he prevails. Trepanier slowed up. Vieira saw it coming. He backed up the entry, launches off the exit, but he's timid into the braking for 3, and Trepanier back into P2.
All right, so everything's settling back down to where it was, but they are still so close, and there is still a lot of the Moraine sweep left to go. Who is going to try to make the move down into turn 5? I've seen Nico Zanadakis looking a little bit feisty there in the back on Devin Horvath.
Little defense from Mclaughlin once again, but Trepanier is very late on the binders. We got a huge wreck behind them as it looks like Horvath is able to make the move in the battle for the lead. Once again, kicking off, Mclaughlin gets passed by Trepanier, who sneaks inside him at turn 6.
You are not supposed to be able to make that move into turn 6, Joe, but Vincent Trepignet making it work here at Road America, getting that BMW ahead of the Porsche.
Things are going nuts here at the front of the field as someone goes off course. That was Hockenhiem, who just barely gets it back into the pavement in time. And wow, Trepignet was not taking no for an answer.
No, he was not, but he has got to be careful because I think this is not done yet from Nathan Mclaughlin. Gets a good run there out of the kink. He may try to have a little bit of a look down into Canada corner here. Trepignet trying to fight him off a little bit. Mclaughlin, no, is going to check himself back into line. It is now BMW leading Porsche, leading BMW as Mclaughlin kicks up a little bit of dirt on the outside of the corner.
And it was Sepulveda punted by Malbron, by the way, that wreck that we saw happen just as the lead changed hands coming off the final turn. Now that Trepignet is in front, he's stretching it apart. It's 0.6 of a second to Nathan Mclaughlin. Was he being held up there?
I gotta think he was a little bit there, Joe. Just look at that gap, already holding at about a second.
Behind them, the battle for third rages between Horvath and Zanadakis as well. They're only split by about 0.3 of a second. Porsche versus BMW. Zanadakis in the white number 32, or excuse me, white 07, with Horvath in the white 32. Coming down the hill once again. Last time, it just all exploded here. They look far enough apart that hopefully it'll be a little more calm this time.
A little bit of a twitch there, under braking for Devin Horvath, but it didn't slow him down too much. Gaps between our leaders starting to get into a little bit of equilibrium there. I see a little bit of a move in the back. I think that was from Jose Malbron, just trying to see if he could force somebody offline going into 6.
So they're still trying to bob and weave here and seeing if they could open a door. And look at him really trying for it down into turn 8 out of the hurry downs there. Malbron watching with Vieira just in front, and Norris leading the train just inside the top 5. They're also trailing along. Belval there in 8th position.
Yeah, indeed they are. All this battling at the front has really allowed for everybody to stay pretty close together here. Not quite close enough as we run down here through the Kettle Bottoms for anybody to make a move, I think. Malbron certainly no. Looking behind him, Bevel not able to do it as well. Caven Norris, the one leading this train as of right now.
Wonder if they're finally beginning to think about fuel here today. We certainly saw drivers do that before. Just sitting and waiting patiently, trying to save a bit in the first stint. We got a huge gaggle back in the battle for 15th position, led by Langlois, actually kind of led by 14th Hilton there. And then you've also got Ethan Tavitas under threat. Magnon in the Lamborghini gets a great run. The Porsche doesn't seem to have much ability to respond. Down to the inside comes the 431. The orange and black machine is going to have to outbrake him, though. He stalls out as they hit their top ends into turn 1, and he doesn't have the guts.
And Joe, that's a little bit of the story that we saw yesterday. Only a couple of Lamborghinis chosen to run in the GT3 Pro field, and they just didn't seem like they had it around here at Road America, and it looks like we're seeing that again. The highest Porsche right now, you ride on board with Philippe Magnon in 17th.
Look over his dashboard. Already 10 minutes into this race. I can report that Langlois just got past Hilton there, just in front of us. And Tavitas not overtaken by Magnon. But Lucio Vargas is going to try and stick his nose to his inside. We couldn't see it outside the view of our camera. But the 710 certainly gave a run at it, just had to back out.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what you've got to do a little bit to try to make a move. Vargas, another one of those Lamborghini drivers, currently being chased by the other Italian marquee there, Paul Espina in the Ferrari behind him. Gotta say, I do actually really love that paint scheme on Vargas's car. That's really pretty stunning on the Lambo.
Yeah, I'm feeling it as well. It looks pretty sweet. They come down through the kink, both of them keeping it on the pavement, thankfully. Usually that's the corner that we talk about being the real danger zone, especially on the first laps. But in the pros, I'm trying to think if we saw any wrecks there, and we haven't seen any here yet today. As here we go back up to the front. Horvath gaining on Nicholson. Nathan was light years ahead of everybody last time out at Hungaroring, but here today, he doesn't seem to have the pace.
No, he really doesn't, Joe, and I'm not sure what's going on. I'll have to ride on board with him for a second here, see if there's maybe a little bit of fuel saving, some clutching and coasting, because I wouldn't expect him to be this far behind.
I frankly wouldn't either. Nicholson getting on the radio for something, trying to listen, and then it looked like Malbron maybe responded, but again, it didn't seem to come through. Still looking defensive. Nicholson's not giving up the desired line to Horvath, and no pass attempts between the pair of them, at least that time by.
Yeah, and there was no real clutching and coasting there for Nicholson. He looks like he's driving that car to its fullest. The only thing that may be a little bit of an issue is it looks like the sixth gear for him is a little bit long as of right now, and so he may be trying to get that car tuned up a little bit better when he gets closer.
Our onboard drivers having a nice little tussle right now. Mclaughlin sandwiched between Robertson and Mclaughlin. Actually, that's all three. I think that's three of our onboard cams right there between our drivers that have signed up today to give us some views. This is all for 10th place, and the green and black Porsche is Robertson, teammate of Mclaughlin.
Yeah, it is. So don't let those dueling green paint schemes there confuse you. We ride on board here with Kyle Robertson. Woo! Mclaughlin really filling his rearview mirror there.
Sawing the wheel a little bit there through Bill Mitchell Bend. Now let's watch and see what kind of smooth exit he can get off the final corner. Yeah, that looked a lot better than it did through Bill Mitchell. Wheel didn't have to take too many jabs at it, and it pays dividends because Mclaughlin is not able to catch up. Up in front of him, the driver that we saw was Luis Reedy, and now we watch the onboard view of Mclaughlin with his VR. Let's see him look into the corner as they drive through turn one, and they'll do it once again through three, another right-hander.
Yeah, there you can see him start to spot the apex about 150, 200 yards before he gets to it. Just weaves his way through. Little bit of an offline run there for Kyle Robertson ahead of him. Kwok may be looking to press a little bit of an attack here, but I think he'll be a little far back at this point.
Yeah, I can't imagine he wants to try and upset things with his teammate. Yeah, he's not going to have a go at it, so he'll stay behind. Oh, and big slip up from Mclaughlin behind them. You could see him drop back there big time, getting wheel spin off the corner.
Yeah, and that is a little bit one of the problems of the Ford. One of the sayings here on iRacing is that the Ford will attempt to kill you at some point during the course of a race, and so I think that was that homicide attempt for Nick Mclaughlin.
Your Honor, it was that car, the one in the red. I saw it with both my eyes, and here we see the cars in the green and black falling away from him, running away from him towards the kink once again. Still staying in touch with one another. We've gone to 4 down to 3, fighting not for 10th, but instead for 9th now.
Yeah, just kind of wheedle away. We're going to jump up here, though. A little bit of a battle starting to play out in front. That is the 56 machine of Claude Bevel. Remember, we were following this a little earlier when this was a train, but he has stayed close behind the sister BMW of Jose Malbron.
Malbron up a few spots, and that was a wreck in front of them. That was Vieira. And he was in 4th place when that happened, I believe.
All right, so let's see from above what happens here. This should give us a perfect angle. Coming up over Bill Mitchell Bend, gets everything nice and easy there. onto the binders, brings it on through. Good clip at the apex. Does he? Yep, just touches that outside grass with the right rear tire, and that sends him right around.
That promotes a number of drivers. Zanadakis now into 4th. Kevin Norris up into P5. Malbron and Belval now battling for 6th position. And here we go again. Robertson having to defend on Kwok Nin. He drifts to the left-hand side of the track. Nin goes even farther inside on him. Can he make the corner? Don't wind up like we've seen many drivers do, and they both get through. Oh, and he's given space to his teammate, but Robertson goes through the grass, unsure if he's going to have room off the turn. The battle continues through 6, now through 7. Side by side through here is going to cost them so much time, but it looks like Nin's got it wrapped up as long as he can make it through 8.
And make it through 8. He does a great move there from Kwok Nin and great respect between teammates. But now all of that fighting has allowed for Nick Mclaughlin to catch back up behind them. And he's going to be looking to pounce here going down through the kink and kettle bottoms.
Not sure why Robertson stayed off into the grass there unless he just wasn't sure where his teammate would be. Here we see Robertson just giving watch now. And somebody's also giving watch on him, apparently.
Everybody's got to have a little bit of a cheering section, and clearly that's Nick's there behind him. So he is now pushing ahead. Let's see what kind of run he's able to get through turn 14.
He's mighty close, but he's not close to the apex, which means he's going to be slow off the corner. So Robertson lives to fight another day.
Yeah, he does. Robertson able to pull ahead there. I'm looking at the gap right now, and it looks like it's pulling out to about 0.6 of a second. So, but is that Robertson maybe being able to fight back?
Yeah, Robertson wants to try and get back past his teammate once again. You see Lucio Vargas down pit lane behind them, along with Chet Miller. And yeah, we're about halfway, so they are well within the pit window, so that could be a legitimate pit stop.
Yeah, legitimate pit stop, and I think it's probably a good one there. Maybe a little bit of a mental reset for some of those drivers in the mid-pack. Keeping our eyes fixed here on this little three-way battle. Nin continuing to lead from Robertson. From Mclaughlin, wide run into the corner there from Kyle Robertson, kicking up a little bit of dust on the way out of turn 5.
Oh, and a spin as well. Kwok Nin loses it through turn 6. That thing snapped around in a heartbeat. I don't think he touched the grass at all. That must have been just that BMW not really agreeing with how he applied the brakes.
Well, let's watch the replay here on this, Joe. Comes down into turn 5. Everything looks hunky-dory. Kicks up a little bit of dirt there, but nothing to write home about. On the brakes, yep. What that was, Joe, is that as you come up over the crest of that hill, you really need to apply braking going up the hill and then let off the brakes and let the car turn itself through there. If you keep brakes on through there as the car positions itself and the weight comes back onto the front, it really throws it off coming over the crest, and that's exactly what happened to Kwok Nin.
Easy to make mistakes around this track as we come back live. Well, we had a battle for P6, but look at this. Claude Belval in the background has peeled off. He was within about 1/10 of a second of Malbron, and he's going to give that away, hoping he could leapfrog him.
Well, Joe, the strategy that I can kind of think about that is that maybe he was able to get a really, really good run, get some good speed, and just decided to peel off and make a really fast in-lap out of it. That may be the thought process behind that.
So we come back to our leaders. Now, Trepanier was a full second ahead of Nicholson last time I looked. Nathan has turned the afterburners back on. He's got it down to about half a second up to the 87. They're still pulling along Horvath, but they're dropping Zanadakis. It's up to about 2 seconds back to that 07. It's beginning to become a podium breakaway.
It is indeed. And, we were talking a little bit earlier about why Nathan was falling back. Well, I rode on board and listened a little bit to the gearing. As I said, that sixth gear is very, very long. And in order to get to the high revs and take full advantage of that long sixth gear, he's got to pull in close behind Trepanier. So I wouldn't be surprised if over the past couple of laps, he was just really, really hustling that car out there to try to close that gap.
Off through the kink. So will either one of these maybe try to pit to throw the others off? That puts him at risk of being caught up in traffic in the mid-pack. So we haven't usually seen it, but you never know. Nicholson's got to want that lead back after starting this one on pole. Again, he didn't show up in the, he did show up in the first two rounds, but he had a horrible first round. And then the second one, he found himself not quite with a victory. He was on the podium in third, but he's got his feet underneath him, and he'd like to continue his winning ways here. Could still vie for a championship since they do have one drop round, and that 3-point first round could go the way of the dodo.
Yeah, it very well could. So they're going to have to keep on it here. Nicholson, wow, really driving it in. Ooh, this is a great little battle in the back. A couple of drivers peeling off, but this is Jean-Claude Langlois leading Tavitas and Desjardins, and that is, I believe, the Ferrari of Bowie Suin poking his nose there as well.
And that was Magnon who went off into the pits. Down to the inside, Tavitas trying to attack Langlois. He gets to the inside, but great carry of speed from the 41 off the turn. Braking hard for turn 3. Does he chop him off? Yes, he does. Tavitas has to back out of it. Now he's under threat. Marc-Andre Desjardins had a much better exit, and he's got the slipstream.
Yes, he does. There he is right behind. He's going to poke his nose. Whoa! Onto the grass. A little bit naughty there, I think, for Tavitas.
Marc-Andre getting on the radio saying, always you must leave a space. Because Tavitas squeezed him all the way to the grass, almost took both cars out in the process. Let's take a look at it.
All right, so this is looking out the rear wing of Ethan Tavitas here. You can see there Desjardins starting to fade, and then Tavitas responding to the fade by coming back over. Just a little bit of contact there on the front nose, but certainly got some contact and maybe earns Ethan a step on the naughty podium.
Yeah, I suspect the stewards are going to probably have a look at that one post-race. That was all for 13th position, by the way. They've gained some from pit stops. Highest one to have stopped right now at Belval in the 56 as things get mighty tight between the 1 and the 22 down through Canada Corner.
Yeah, getting very close indeed. I think that Desjardins' blood may be a little bit up, and that driver of the 22 is seeing a little bit red.
Nobody else ducking in amongst them. Seeing if anybody else behind is going to decide to pit in. None of our leaders either coming down. And 16 minutes left to go. Looks like Suen in the 21. Bowie is taking a stop.
Exactly. Ooh, here we've got a little battle for the lead here. This battle we've been following. Nicholson all over the back of Vincent Trepanier as they make their way through turn 7 and into the hurry downs.
You know, what you were talking about before about potentially Nathan was saving fuel, I'm starting to think that more and more here. The way he's been able to get right back to the bumper of Vincent. I wonder if he wants the track position before the pit stops to try and get ahead. He's saved enough fuel. He knows he's going to have a slightly shorter stop. Now he needs to try and get past the BMW, but the Porsche was denied on the first half of the lap down into Canada Corner. He's too far back to pass. Maybe he could get himself set up for the front stretch.
Yeah, he's going to have to nail this exit through Canada Corner, and that's going to be... Whoa!
Just about wound up in Canada. Nathan Nicholson falls to third instead of taking first. and Horvath slips through into second.
Let's watch this replay, Joe, because that was inches away from disaster. I think Nicholson may have gotten a little bit onto the grass potentially, and that's what caused him to overshoot. Let's watch this. No, he just missed his braking zone completely and totally.
It's a surprising mistake, but heads up from the 87. He saw it coming, gave him just enough space, and just over-undered him like he knew it would all work out. Malbron into the pits in the meantime. Looks like Matt Hilton as well, along with Langlois. Tavitas is in, and that is it for now amongst our mid-packers. Here we see the leaders a little bit checked up after that incident. Looks like Horvath has caught up to within half a second of Trepanier after that.
Yeah, so maybe now it is the other Porsche that's going to be putting some pressure on to the BMW in front in the form of Devin Horvath. Let's not count out Nathan Nicholson quite yet. We know that Delta Sport number 456 has got a lot of speed in it. There's still about 14 minutes left to go.
Horvath was one spot shy of the win last time out in Hungary. Can he make it one better and deny Trepanier his third win out of the first 4 rounds of the season? There you see the 87 of Vincent Trepanier. Still none of them having pitted yet, need to execute their strategy. Jose Malbron is now your highest driver to have pitted. He came out about a second and a half ahead of Belval to take that claim away. Oh, all just a little bit too far apart here, about half a second splitting the 87, the 32, and the 456.
Yeah, just a little bit spaced out. I would have to think here that they're going to start considering pitting in this or maybe the next lap. That's about what we saw the GT Pros do last night. And when they did last night, it was absolutely everybody, as we knew that they hit their limit. And there it is. They are all coming on in. I think this is the end of the pit window, Joe.
It does appear to be the case. Everybody down to Norris in 5th place is in. Louise and the number 8 is going to follow. McLaughlin coming in. Robertson, Hockenhiem after his spin, little ways back. Here's Trepanier. And you can see each car trundling towards their stall. All the leaders having to go all the way to the end. Last pit stall, though, for Trepanier. Will that give him an advantage over Trepanier? Or last pit stall for Nicholson, rather.
There's Trepanier out and on his way. Horvath on his way. Nicholson on his way as well. Zanadakis looking like he may have made up a little bit of time there. Caven Norris coming out nice and easy. Nick Mclaughlin, that's a good run for him. Up to 6th there for Nick. Oh, no, it looks like Malbron is going to be able to file out ahead of him as they get out onto track. So as they start to separate out, pretty big gap there for Vincent Trepanier, about 1.4 seconds. Nicholson about 1 second back of Horvath.
Still, McLaughlin started this race in 17th. He's running 8th right now after the pit stops. And he's got Belval in front of him, so 7th is still potentially on the cards. Great job from the Ford. Oh, but Nick had a very, very short stop. Let's hope he put enough fuel in it.
Well, we've seen multiple times that Nick knows how to be very light on that right-handed pedal, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a little trick up his sleeve here to be able to do that, but right now we see him trying to get all around quad bevel.
56 is pulling a bit of a train. McLaughlin behind him, like we mentioned, Louise Rady, and then you've got Kyle Robertson a little ways back from them before the train ends out. There you see the green car flashing by, Kyle Robertson. Out of the carousel and down towards the kink once again. The pit stops have spread the field out somewhat, including our leaders, Trepanier, ahead by a full 2 seconds of Horvath now.
Yeah, so that's going to be some good breathing room for Horvath, but I'll tell you who hasn't separated out. That's Nathan Nicholson. He is still within striking distance of Devin Horvath in front, taking down under about 10 minutes to go here. Whoa, that's Horvath diving back down into the pits.
Whoa, what happened here? Either this is a drive-through penalty or he didn't put enough fuel in. And he is dropping position after position. This is a long pit straight here. So he's got to go along at about 45 miles an hour for a huge amount of time.
Well, he's coming to rest in his pit stall right now. I'll keep an eye on this and let you know if this is a penalty or if this is a miscalculation on fuel.
Zanadakis promoted into third. That's not a position behind him in the Ferrari. That is Gabriel Moreau. Just a lap down for him. Kevin Norris is about 2 seconds back. There you can see him in the BMW behind the Ferrari. So he's not in a position to try and attack right now. Good news for Zanadakis because this podium is practically fell in his lap.
Yeah, it very much has it. Unless I'm mistaken, this will be the best finish we've seen for Nikos Zanadakis at this point. Horvath still stationary in the pits, going past 30 seconds stationary in the box. I think this is a pit lane speeding penalty, Joe.
Oh, that is gutting. The 32 is already down to 25th position. I think he'll be able to get back out before he loses any others because the next car is down in that spot is a lap down, and that's Moreau, actually. We've lost a number of drivers for what it's worth. We haven't really reported on Vieira, Kwiatkowski, Miller, Sepulveda, Campbell, Scardura, and Burmeister have all retired in this race so far. And is Robertson going to join them? Kyle Robertson in the kitty litter outside of the carousel.
Ooh, that can happen a lot when you're pushing just a little bit too hard. Let's watch here. That green and black Porsche goes down, runs it out. Yep, just understeered right off into the grass.
Does he hit anything? No. Good job. Keeps it out of the barriers. Unfortunately, time was lost in the process, so Hockenhiem gets that spot back after his spin. I'm sure he can empathize with him. And here we go to Nick Mclaughlin. Starting to gain on Claude Belval. We hop on board, looking over his dash. The gap is currently at about 0.3 of a second between himself and the 56.
Indeed it is. You can see there Nick getting a little bit more of that inside curbing coming through turn 3, hoping to get a little bit of a better run there. That Ford normally tends to be pretty quick in a straight line. Definitely closing here on the BMW. I think he may think about a move. What's Nick going to do? He's going to be forcing around the outside. Backs off there. Not wanting to force the issue too much. Just trying to force Belval offline a little bit if he can.
He's got a very good shot at this, I must say. Applying great pressure to the car in 6th place, but there's only 6 laps left. He can't just sit around and hope for a mistake. He's got to really start to attack at some point here.
Yeah, he really does, and I thought he had a little bit of a chance there, but obviously Claude being able to kind of defend that inside line into 5 scuppered those chances a little bit. The other thing he's got to worry about is he does have Louis Reedy only about 0.6 of a second behind him, so he's got to be very careful not to go for a full bonsai move and risk losing a space.
Train of cars fighting for 5th here. Trailing down into Canada corner. A little wide at the apex there from Malbron, but he manages it well. Doesn't lose too much off of the turn. Heard somebody else in the pit lane. Paul Espina down in his stall for some reason. I'm not sure what the cause is on that. Along with David Morse, also unfortunately having to join his crew onto the main straight. And as the Ford gives chase to the BMW, doesn't seem to be gaining at this stage.
Yeah, it doesn't quite look like he's got that closed down here at this point. And Although it looks a little bit there like Claude maybe closing in on Melbron ahead of him. We'll have to see how this straightens out, how they take turn 3.
Looked pretty decent from Belval, but not horrible from Melbron. So it seems the stalemate continues. You see, it's just not catching him as quickly as he's going to need. How many laps do we have left, though? Trepanier is not that far up the road from them. As we're hearing 3 laps to go. Great close in from the Ford. Mclaughlin chopping away at that gap to the 56 car.
Yeah, you can really see that top line speed in the Ford. I think for Nick here, what he's really got to focus on is maybe trying to find a little bit of an alternate line out of the carousel. Try to go in a little bit wider, carry as much speed as possible through there. Let's see if he can do it. He's staying pretty close behind here. Oh, loses out a little bit on the exit of it. I think that car just wanted to understeer away from him. Closes up a little bit during the kink.
Something happened to Nicholson. Nicholson's dropped to 4th, Zanadakis up to 2nd, Norris into 3rd. This happened in the kettle bottoms. Did he have a moment in the kink?
It was the kink. He touched the inside curb of the kink and I think rode that Porsche up onto the grass. It spun him around. He didn't contact anything. He was able to keep going, but losing a lot of positions.
It's been his own worst enemy today, and it's both happened in that same area of the track. This is an incredible save. Put this one on a highlight reel.
For sure, Joe. And that, remind you, is probably at about 140 to 160 miles an hour that he was able to catch that car.
Let's watch from on board. Watch the hands here. He notices it immediately. He counter steers, keeps cool, and back right forward as you do.
Just incredible work from Nathan there.
This was a boon to Trepanier because he's now full 8 seconds ahead of Kevin Norris and Zanadakis. Did Norris go by Zanadakis as we were watching that replay, actually? Well then, so it looks like he did, and that happened on the front stretch. A little bit of a bad exit out of the final corner from the 07. Dipped a couple wheels in the grass. Norris said, thank you very much. He's taken that car from 7th to a P2.
Very, very impressive there to be able to do that just on a big kind of a charge here.
Okay, 2 minutes left to go, which means white flag next time by for Vincent Trepanier. Let's see, this time a little better down through the kink. So thankfully no spin for our former leader of the race. Boy, the battle is going to be hot here at the end, especially if Zanadakis can keep the pressure onto the 15.
Yes, and we've seen Nikos really, really go for some aggressive moves here. There you see Caven. Car got a little bit squirrely coming through turn 14, a little bit squirrely coming out of turn 14 as well. This may be a little bit of an attack move for Nikos Zanadakis, and you see Caven trying to cover that off, immediately coming down to the inside as both drivers take the white flag.
Watching from behind, Nicholson knows he could maybe get his spot back, trying to defend down to the inside. Norris is going to force him the long way around, almost a little bit of contact between them. Thankfully, neither car is spun. Zanadakis remains in 3rd.
He does indeed, but he wants that P2 on Caven Norris. Here he comes out of turn 3 right now. Loses a little bit of time, does the driver of the 07. Ooh, and is he going to be under attack here from Nathan Nicholson now?
Cross your fingers this doesn't go awry into turn 5 yet again amongst these drivers, because they are fiercely fighting one another. Deep on the brakes, Zanadakis tries to get underneath, but it's not there. Nicholson, 2 wheels into the dirt, is behind them. Mclaughlin also had a move on Melbron, but it didn't stick.
It didn't stick, and now they've got a little bit of lap traffic up ahead of them in the form of David Morris. Morris, they're getting out of the way. That got a little dicey.
Thought he was clear, didn't realize there was 3 cars coming at once. Thankfully did not pull in front of Zanadakis, still being led by Norris in P2. And they've gained time. How did they gain time on Trepanier and all of that? It was 9 seconds before. It's now to 7.7. Is Trepanier having to save a little fuel?
I'm not sure, Joe. I'm keeping an eye on where he is on track, but I can tell you as we watch these 3 cars coming down into Canada Corner, this is really going to be the last overtaking opportunity. Zanadakis, I think, is going to try to send it. Looks about the outside, tries to make it work, but doesn't pull it off, but gets a better run off of the corner. He's got to make it now up through Bill Mitchell Bend.
Oh, I was going to say, please don't try a pass into there. Nicholas thought about it. In the meantime, Vincent Trepanier, though he has been losing time, he's got enough to make it to the finish, and he's going to take the victory here at Road America. Behind them, Caven Norris with a stout defense to take P2, Zanadakis in third, and Nicholson is going to have to settle for a step outside the podium after he put it on the pole at the start. That's got to be disappointing.
Yeah, I think Nathan's going to be kicking himself a little bit after this run here today at Road America. But all of our top 4 just put on an absolutely incredible show. Nick Mclaughlin unable to come up by Jose Melbron, but he'll settle up 11 positions to come home in 6th. Watching the rest of the field crossing over the line right now.
Louise in the 8 car beat out Claude Balvel by 0.06 of a second across the line. So that was tight there for the 7th position. From there on back, Ryan's just beat Breton, and we're coming up the last of the cars to the line, which means it's time to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Definitely stick around for those.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much going to be a turnkey. So he's going to press start on his computer, and right after we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware. And that's why we want to create something that's really gonna reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Welcome back to Road America. Round 4 in the PRL GT3 AM Series was one to remember. And up at the front, it was Vincent Trepanier who took the win. He had some challenges late in the race, especially around the time of the pit stops, but he wound up managing to hold off all the challengers, as Nico Zanadakis is the one in second. I know it has given us a little bit different information on the race results. It was, Norris second, Zanadakis in third, and then it was Nathan Nicholson who wound up fourth, made two major mistakes that could have cost him a chance at the win. And there we go. This is the correct finishing order. Malbron was in fifth, with Mclaughlin going from 17th to 6th. Louise Rieti in 7th, as Claude Belval finished P8. Kwok Nin, another driver that had some spins out there, he finished 9th. And Lucio Vargas, we didn't get to cover him, but he went from 20th to 10th.
Another big riser out there was 11th place finisher Matt Hilton, who went from 21st to 11th, followed by Kyle Robertson and Ethan Tavitas. Marc-Andre Desjardins came home in 14th, up 12 positions from his starting spot, and Philippe Magnan was behind him. Jean-Claude Langal was 16th, followed by Bowie Suin in 17th, with Christopher Rines and Alexandre Breton behind them. And rounding out your top 20, it was Michael Padulano.
Chet Miller was 21st, followed by Rodrigo Morales in the 22nd. Then it was Swindells finishing P23. And the last one on the lead lap, unfortunately, was Devin Horvath. He was another one who was amongst the podium runners until late in the race, where he had a mysterious second pit stop, we think maybe due to a speeding penalty in pit lane. Gabriel Moreau was 2 laps down in 25th, with Morse in 26th. Espina and everybody beyond him, unfortunately, DNF today, all the way down to 34th with Jason Burmeister. We've got our second place finisher ready to talk to us. It is Caven Norris. Caven from 7th to 2nd. Nice job on that one. And it looked like you really were able to take advantage of a lot of other drivers kind of running into a couple issues here and there.
Yes, I was pretty surprised. 2 laps until the end of the race, I just saw Nicholson, and I was pretty surprised. I was 5th, so went 3 or 2, I don't remember, but yeah, I was very surprised.
Well, it's, I'm sure, a pleasant surprise. Talk about those last laps, though. It got pretty feisty, it looked like, and you had to give a pretty good defense. What was going through your head?
Honestly, I was a little bit slower than those, so I just went full defense, and that's why I got the P2.
Well, congratulations on that. Next up is Interlagos, though, which is quite different from what we've got here. Still a couple long straights in there, but so many twisty bits. Can you repeat this sort of performance at such a different track?
Yes, I'll try. I'll try to practice a little more than this week. So we'll see.
All right. Well, we'll watch out for you. Anybody you want to give a thank you to for this podium today?
Yes, Alexandre Breton and Advanced SimRacing. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Good stuff there from Kevin Norris. I believe our fourth place finisher, Nathan Nicholson, going to join us as DJ is talking to him.
Well, Nathan, obviously a little bit of a heartbreak there for you to end up off of the podium, but you were in the thick of the things that entire race. Talk me through that out there.
Yeah, it was definitely a struggle. The Porsche was not the best car out there, I think, and I didn't get much practice. I was at a real life event, so I definitely tried to make quick work of my practice, and I don't think it was too bad for an outcome.
Well, talk me through a little bit about some of the Porsche's downfalls out there. It looked like that sixth gear may have been a little bit long, and was that part of it, or was it more of a handling issue?
I think it was both. Sixth gear was long. I just couldn't, capitalize on the draft a lot of the time, and then through like the quick kink type of turns, it was just everywhere, as you can see my Dave in the one kink.
Yeah, obviously new car here. It was pretty dominant at some earlier tracks. We head to a twistier track in Interlagos next. Do you think that's going to favor the Porsche, or you're maybe going to have to do a little bit more setup work to get that work into your nature?
I think the Porsche, it's going to be a toss-up. There's a lot of long sweeping turns that the Porsche really likes, but there's also, it just depends on like the elevation. The Porsche is a little sensitive to that stuff, which also didn't help here.
Well, all right, we'll be watching that one for sure. Anybody you'd like to thank for this fourth place run here today?
Delta Sport really helped me get up to speed on this track in the car. Delta Sport, Move Up, Race Factory, Freem USA. They just restocked the gloves, by the way, the SimRacing gloves. I just ordered some. United for Kids, Get Stuck, Driven Texas, and Extreme SimRacing.
Well, thank you very much, Nathan, and congratulations again on a well-fought fourth place out here today. That was Nathan Nicholson, and now, Joe Peak, I believe you've caught up with our ninth place driver, Hockenhiem.
Yes, and Kwok had an up-and-down race. That Parabola NFR BMW looked like it was a bit handful at times, including a spin up in turn 6. We were trying to figure out if it was brakes or if you touched the grass. What was it from your perspective?
Oh, I'm sorry. So it was the grass. My rear left tire clipped it a little bit and caused me to spin out.
Oh, man, it must have been just the tiniest patch of it then. And that's a shame that it cost you so much, because before that, you and your teammate looked like you were having one heck of a battle.
My teammate was Jason. He wasn't actually able to start the race because he was having some equipment issues.
Apologies. Similarly painted cars then, so that was my mistake on that one. So it could have been better here today. Do you take any lessons out of it? Is there something that you feel like you can use going forward into the later rounds out of this one?
Honestly, man, it's just a whole bunch of practice with a bunch of cars on the track. I practice Road America almost every day, and I was confident in my driving to stay consistent, but with so many distractions, it causes me to lose my concentration. But going forward, I basically just need to focus more, practice a lot more around cars to be more consistent.
I can understand that. It's a huge field here, so that's probably got to be pretty nerve-wracking. Regardless, is there anybody that you want to thank for the top 10 today? That'll at least be a nice stat in your pocket.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys. You guys put on a good show every single time I watch the broadcast, PRL for hosting the race, and my teammates for helping me practice.
That was Hockenhiem finishing 9th today, and we got one more to talk to, another podium finisher, and Nico Zanadakis, and DJ has caught up with him.
Well, Nikos, that was a race where you just seemed to be in the thick of everything, really, really chasing people down. Talk me through what it was like behind the seat of that BMW.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing good in the beginning, had some good consistency, and then towards the end, I started, I guess, overheating my front tires, and I made a couple of mistakes. Gave Kevin a chance to get past me.
It really looked like there was a lot of hairy moments going down into turn 5 for kind of the whole field. Were you trying to really go for that, or in those closing stages, was it really just kind of a moment where you were like, okay, I've just got to bring this thing home?
I guess it was a little bit of both. If there was an opportunity, I would have went for it, but I also didn't want to end up taking Kevin out or anybody else, because it's not the right thing to do. I mean, it's still early in the season anyway, so there's plenty of time to make up points later.
For sure. And speaking of making up some of those points, we head over to Interlagos next, a wildly different track from this. But what do you think's going to happen out there?
I think Interlagos, I've been pretty good at Interlagos, consistency-wise, so I'm not too worried about it. It'd be similar to Road America. It's one of my stronger tracks, so I'm not worried about it, but I do need to practice a little bit for sure before next week.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, Nikos, and anybody you'd like to thank for this podium here today.
Just friends and family and all the sponsors of PRL.
Well, there you go. That was Nikos Xanadakis, your third place finisher here today. Joe?
And speaking of those sponsors of the PRL, we want to thank them too. Of course, starting with ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you to improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. As well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com. And SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed on your screen, and additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more awesome work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed here. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a moment. Next race, as we mentioned, both series going to Interlagos. That'll be a very cool back-to-back. At least we won't have to take a quick flight this time. October 19th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern is when it all kicks off. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen. So check those out, mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.